Time now for The Lid. Congress is back today, and now Democrats will have to really confront their divisions over whether to impeach Donald Trump. According to a new poll, a majority of all Americans, 56% of them, say they oppose beginning impeachment. Democrats favor it, though, by a 2-to-1 margin. And one of those in favor of impeachment is billionaire businessman Tom Steyer. He's been running ads on this network and on others, urging voters and lawmakers to pursue impeachment. Joining us now is Tom Steyer. He is the founder and president of Next Gen America and founded the political group called Need to Impeach. Tom, thank you for taking a few minutes. We mentioned the poll. I'll put it back up there. We had the Mueller report. It's been out there now for a week plus. Folks have been absorbing it, absorbing the news around it. 37%, just over 1 in 3 Americans say yes, impeach. Nearly 60% there. You see 56% say no. Given the news coverage that this has gotten, given a poll number like that, do you look at that and say there is an argument to be made to, in the words of a past impeachment controversy, move on and fight it out in the next election?
Well, Steve, let's take a step back and see where we are. For a year and a half, we've said that there is a moral and a democratic imperative to impeach this president. And as a result of the Mueller report, I think that argument is over. I think everybody now realizes this president deserves to be impeached. And the question is, what are we going to do about it? And what we're asking for is televised hearings in front of the American people so that we can all see and make up our minds about what happened and what we should do about it.
Well, in that sense, the House Democrats are saying there are going to be hearings. And we just talked earlier this hour, there's the whole controversy now. Are they going to subpoena the attorney general? Are there going to be other subpoenas? But the plan they've outlined, which does not embrace impeachment, they say there will be months of hearings. Is that good enough for you right now?
Well, I think there's really a question here about how fast the hearings happen and whether they happen. I think that this administration is deliberately stonewalling the Congress on virtually everything. So whereas we've said there was obstruction of justice, we're now watching this administration literally obstruct justice in front of our very eyes. What we want is the American people to see with our own eyes what happened so we can make up our own minds. The fact that the numbers don't support it right now doesn't mean that much. Put the facts in front of the American people in televised hearings, which is how we actually absorb our news, not through a 488-page document that virtually nobody's going to read.
But is there an argument we are a year away? This time next year we'll be in the midst of the Democratic primaries. Maybe, who knows, there'll be a Democrat who's emerged and is the presumptive nominee to run against Donald Trump. Is there an argument that this should be put before the American people for them to decide through an election rather than members of the House a year or even months before the election?
Well, I think there really is a question here, Steve, about protecting democracy and standing up for the American people. And I think that, of course, if it comes to an election and we can't get this done, we will push really hard on that level. But there's a real question here is, are we going to normalize this kind of corrupt behavior? Are we going to accept as a country, which we know, that this is the most corrupt president in history who has clearly obstructed justice, and do absolutely nothing about it? Because if we do that, then we're making a statement about who we are and how much we respect democracy. And I think that's a statement that we cannot afford as a country to make.
You say you want the hearings now. You think public opinion will change if you had those hearings. But let me ask you this. Is it a necessary condition for impeachment, in your view, ultimately? If you pull the trigger, do you need to have strong bipartisan support from the American people to do that?
We're big believers in grassroots. We're a grassroots organization. We're a direct democracy organization. We believe that the American people, if they see the evidence, will overwhelmingly understand that this president needs to be removed from office.
Do you agree, though, with the proposition? Jerry Nadler has said this. He said impeachment can't be one party saying yes and the other party saying no. Ultimately, do you agree that's where it has to be? You're saying you're confident it'll get there. Does it have to be there to do it?
Well, I think that ultimately, you know how the mechanics work, Steve. You know, ultimately, on a voting basis, this is going to have to be a bipartisan vote. But we're concerned with the American people, and I trust the American people, regardless of political party, that if you put the evidence in front of them of this president's corruption and obstruction, that we will understand in our bones that this is not right.
Quickly, for the health of democracy, though, is the argument he's made. You need ultimately bipartisan. I'm just asking, yes or no, do you agree with that proposition? For the health of democracy, if you're going to have an impeachment, must ultimately be bipartisan?
Ultimately, it absolutely has to be. But you have to start with the premise that you put it in front of the American people. And it's the voice of the people that will drive it, Steve. The bipartisanship isn't going to happen because people are going to look in the mirror and change.
I take your point. You are confident that if it's put before them, it'll change on public opinion. I just wanted to get clarification on that one point. I'm sorry. I'd love to keep going.
Yes.
We really are out of time here. But Tom Steyer, thank you very much for taking a few minutes, and we'll be right back.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.